David, they've announced that this isn't going to be a route into the Champions Cup. Does that make any difference to Gloucester? Because obviously it's still a cup quarter final at home.
Not at all. There's a route, not directly, but through playoffs that we're aware of through both the Premiership and also through winning the Challenge Cup. But that's obviously a long way away when you look at the quality of teams that are still in this competition. I think the quarter-finalists are definitely of a higher standard than they've been over the last couple of years, and we're well aware of the threat of Cardiff this weekend. We know that we don't want to suffer the same fate as we did last year when we just didn't perform against the Dragons at the same stage. We're well aware of the importance of this game in the context of our season.
So that said, obviously, presumably full guns blazing going into this, and you go into it in good form off the back of Friday night away at Bristol.
It's always hard to talk about good form in the back of one performance, but we all knew how important last weekend was with the events of the previous couple of weeks. We're all still disappointed, shocked by what happened in the Harlequins game in that last 10 minutes, but also with what happened with Laurie's departure immediately afterwards. But that's also allowed us then to, with our younger coaches, to come in, bring their own enthusiasm, their own ideas on what they wanted to do, how they've shaped training, how we've changed training. And I think because of that, we've had a very different stimulus over the course of the last couple of weeks, which was reflected in a good performance against Bristol, but ultimately the most important thing for the 5 points.
And presumably that system, the way it's working now with people stepping up like Johnny Bell now as an acting head coach effectively, is that sort of bedded in, is that sort of up and running, if you like, now off the back of that win? I've
said before, and I said a little bit earlier, that the way we're structured, we're not reliant on one person. If somebody's not able to come in, somebody's sick, or for whatever reason, the whole running of training, the organisation of the rugby programme continues seamlessly, and I think that's been borne out over the course of the last couple of weeks. And I think there's huge credit to our younger coaches and huge credit to the players, to the way they've reacted to what was I don't think it's a situation there have been too many of our squad have ever been involved in before. And I thought they were rewarded with that performance last Friday night.
Johnny May on the right wing was an interesting one. That's where England have used him. Was that anything to do with England, or does that just say David Humphreys has been playing very, very well?
I think it's the latter. We talk all the time about trying to pick players who are in form. David Humphreys got his opportunity with Johnny being away in the Six Nations and took that opportunity on the left wing. So when Johnny came back in as our international wing, we felt it was in the best interest of both the players and the team that they kept up those positions.
And how much of a boost has it given Gloucester having the likes of Johnny May around? Ross Moriarty obviously last weekend wasn't available, but just having those international faces back.
Successful teams have top quality players playing and playing at their very best, and that's what we expect now with players coming back from international duty. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 of them have picked up injuries, which has been a bit of an unfortunate few weeks with Greg and then Matt Scott. But Johnny May has been here a long time. Everybody knows the personality that he brings to it, the enthusiasm he brings to it, and I think you saw it in the game last weekend. And with Ross coming back into training this week and taking a full part, he's a quality player. They both proved it many times over the last few months at international level.
So Ross back in the mix this weekend. And while we're talking about injuries, how are others who've been sort of missing and took knocks against Bristol?
Yeah, inevitably at this time of the year, you're getting to a point where players are carrying a few bumps and bruises after a long season of rugby. Andrew Simmons was very unfortunate with he fractured his ankle in the Bristol game, had surgery yesterday, which went very well. So depending on how soon or how long our season extends for will determine whether he's able to come back into the reckoning before pre-season. And we've 2 or 3 other bumps and bruises. David Humphreys had a dead leg again. Because we have a slightly longer turnaround this weekend, he's a chance to be fit for the weekend. So we have 2 or 3 carrying bumps and bruises, but we will have some players who haven't been available over the last few weeks coming back into contention.
And with Andrew Simmons' ankle, was that just the ankle bone break, or was there ligament damage as well?
No, he had surgery to put a pin in his ankle, so it was not a nasty, an unfortunate injury, but one that he'll come back from.
Could be a 6 weeks rather than 6 months, yeah. In terms of Cardiff, obviously they didn't qualify as well as Gloucester, but they'll have their stars. And how difficult opponents will they be?
Just look through the quality of team that they're able to put out this weekend. Some of the players coming back from international duty, they have some players like Gethin Jenkins coming back from long-term injury. So look, we know the quality that's in their squad. But as we've said, really, for the last couple of weeks, our focus has been very much on trying to make sure that we get ourselves ready to play, as we did last week when we produced the rugby that we know they're capable of. We caused Bristol a lot of problems. We had too many mistakes, and our focus in the review has been how do we cut out those mistakes, because with the quality of back three that Cardiff have, if we turn the ball over, that'll cause us problems. But as I said, we know as well that if we go out and play well, we're a very good team.
And if you do that, presumably any mental issues from last year's quarter-final against the Dragons, they won't come into play, will they?
I think with some of the events that have happened over the course of the last few months, there'll be no mental baggage from last year. It's a long time ago, different season, we have a very different squad. But look, we all, for me personally, that game last season was hugely disappointing, only because we didn't play. We all know sport. If you play well and a better team beats you, you can put your hands up. That wasn't the case this time last year. We've got to make sure this week we go out and play at our very best.
And talking of the recent events, how is the search for the head coach progressing behind the scenes?
It's obviously been ongoing now for almost 3 weeks. We're at a stage where, as we've said all along, our goal was to have an appointment made by the end of this month. That's still on course and on track, and then we would hope to be in a position to make an announcement, confirmation that we've appointed a head coach. Who that may be will be maybe a little bit longer.
So that could actually mean someone in a job potentially who needs to...
Potentially.
Yeah.